everyone, and welcome to Soft Stories. I'm Stratton, and this is Pepper, and today we are going to be continuing our reading of Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. When we left Arthur, he had just once again met with Merlin, after defeating 11 kings in a furious and long-lasting and well-described battle. Since that time, though, there is much more that needs to be said about Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table and other incidents, as you will see from the heading of this next chapter. So, without further ado, let's dive right in to chapter 18. How King Arthur, King Ban, and King Bors rescued King Leodegrance, and other incidents. And then King Arthur and King Ban and King Bors departed with their fellowship, 20,000, and came within 6 days into the country of Cameliard, and there rescued King Leodegrance, and slew there much people of King Rience, unto the number of 10,000 men, and put him to flight. And then had these great 3 kings great cheer of King Leodegrance, that thanked them of their great goodness, that they would revenge him of his enemies. And there had Arthur the first sight of Guinevere, the king's daughter of Cameliard, and ever after he loved her. After they were wedded, it is telleth in the book. So, briefly to make an end, they took their leave to go into their own countries, for King Claudas did great destruction on their lands. Then, said Arthur, I will go with you. Nay, said the kings, ye shall not at this time, for ye have much to do yet in these lands. Therefore we will depart, and with the great goods that we have gotten in these lands by your gifts, we shall wage good knights, and withstand the King Claudas's malice. For by the grace of God, and we have need, we will send to you for your succour. And if ye have need, send for us, and we will not tarry, by the faith of our bodies. It shall not, said Merlin, need that these 2 kings come again in the way of war. But I know well King Arthur may not be long from you, for within a year or 2 ye shall have great need, and then shall he revenge you on your enemies, as ye have done on his. For these 11 kings shall die, all in a day, by the great might and prowess of arms of 2 valiant knights, as it telleth after. Their names be Balin the Savage, and Balan his brother, that be marvellous good knights, as be any living. Now turn we to the 11 kings that returned unto a city that hight Sorhote, the which city was King Urien's, and there they refreshed them as well as they might, and made leeches search their wounds, and sorrowed greatly for the death of their people. With that there came a messenger, and told how there was come into their lands people that were lawless, as well as Saracens, of 40,000, and have burnt and slain all the people that they may come by without mercy, and have laid siege on the castle of Wondersborough. Alas, said the 11 kings, here is sorrow upon sorrow. And if we had not warred against Arthur as we have done, he would soon revenge us. As for King Lear de Grance, he loveth Arthur better than us. And as for King Rience, he hath enough to do with Lear de Grance, for he hath laid siege unto him. So they consented together to keep all the marches of Cornwall, of Wales, and of the north. So first they put King Idris in the city of Nantes in Britain, with 4,000 men of arms, to watch both the water and the land. Also they put in the city of Winderson King Nentrus of Garlot, with 4,000 knights, to watch on both water and on land. Also they had of other men of war more than 8,000, for to fortify all the fortresses in the marches of Cornwall. Also they put more knights in all the marches of Wales and Scotland, with many good men of arms, and so they kept them together the space of 3 years, and ever allied them with mighty kings and dukes and lords. And to them fell King Rience of North Wales, the which was a mighty man of men, and Nero, that was a mighty man of men. And all this, while they furnished them and garnished them of good men and arms and victual, and of all manner of habiliments that pretendeth to the war, to avenge them for the battle of Bedegraine, as it telleth in the book of adventures following. Chapter 19. How King Arthur rode to Carlion, and of his dream, and how he saw the questing beast. Then, after the parting of King Ban and of King Bors, King Arthur rode unto Carlion, and thither came to him King Lot's wife of Orkney in manner of a message, but she was sent thither to espy the court of King Arthur, and she came richly beseen with her 4 sons, Gawain, Gaheris, Agravain, and Gareth, with many other knights and ladies. For she was a passing fair lady, therefore the king cast great love unto her, and desired to lie by her. So they were agreed, and he begat upon her Mordred, and she was his sister on his mother's side, Igraine. So there she rested her a month, and at the last departed. Then the king dreamed a marvellous dream, whereof he was sore adread. But all this time King Arthur knew not that King Lot's wife was his sister. Thus was the dream of Arthur. Him thought there was come into this land griffins and serpents, and him thought they burnt and slew all the people in the land, and then him thought he fought with them, and they did him passing great harm, and wounded him full sore, but at the last he slew them. When the king awaked, he was passing heavy of his dream, and so to put it out of thoughts, he made him ready with many knights to ride a-hunting. As soon as he was in the forest, the king saw a great hart afore him. This hart shall I chase, said King Arthur. And so he spurred the horse and rode after long, and so, by fine force, oft he was like to have smitten the hart. whereas the king had chased the hart so long that his horse lost his breath and fell down dead. Then a yeoman fetched the king another horse. So the king saw the hart embushed and his horse dead. He set him down by a fountain, and there he fell in great thoughts. And as he sat so, him thought he heard a noise of hounds to the sum of 30. And with that the king saw coming toward him the strangest beast that ever he saw or heard of. So the beast went to the well and drank, and the noise was in the beast's belly like unto the questing of 30 couple hounds. But all the while the beast drank, there was no noise in the beast's belly. And therewith the beast departed with a great noise, whereof the king had great marvel. And so he was in a great thought, and therewith he fell asleep. Right so there came a knight afoot unto Arthur, and said, Knight full of thought and sleepy, tell me if thou sawest a strange beast pass this way. Such one saw I, said King Arthur, that is past 2 mile. What would you with the beast? Said Arthur, Sir, I have followed that beast long time, and killed mine horse, so God would I had another to follow my quest. Right so came one with the king's horse, and when the knight saw the horse, he prayed the king to give him the horse. For I have followed this quest this 12-month, and either I shall achieve him, or bleed of the best blood of my body. Pellinore, that time king, followed the questing beast, and after his death Sir Palamedes followed it. Chapter 20. How King Pellinore took Arthur's horse and followed the questing beast, and how Merlin met with Arthur. Sir Knight, said the king, leave that quest, and suffer me to have it, and I will follow it another 12-month. Ah, fool, said the knight unto Arthur, it is in vain thy desire, for it shall never be achieved but by me, or by my next kin. Therewith he started unto the king's horse, and mounted into the saddle, and said, Gramercy, this horse is my own. Well, said the king, thou mayest take my horse by force, but an I might prove thee whether thou were better on horseback or I. Well, said the knight, seek me here when thou wilt, and here nigh this well shalt thou find me. And so passed on his way. Then the king sat in a study, and bade his men fetch his horse as fast as ever they might. Right so came by him Merlin, like a child of 14 year of age, and saluted the king, and asked him why he was so pensive. I may well be pensive, said the king, for I have seen the marvellous sight that I ever saw. That I know well, said Merlin, as well as thyself, and of all thy thoughts, but thou art but a fool to take thought, for it will not amend thee. Also, I know what thou art, and who was thy father, and of whom thou wert begotten. King Uther Pendragon was thy father, and begat thee on Igraine. That is false, said King Arthur. How shouldst thou know it? For thou art not so old of years to know my father. Yes, said Merlin, I know it better than ye or any man living. I will not believe thee. said Arthur, and was wroth with the child. So departed Merlin, and came again in the likeness of an old man of 80 years of age, whereof the king was right glad, for he seemed to be right wise. Then said the old man, Why are ye so sad? I may well be heavy, said Arthur, for many things. Also here was a child, and told me many things that meseemeth he should not know, for he was not of age to know my father. Yes, said the old man, the child told you the truth, and more would he have told you, an ye would have suffered him. But ye have done a thing late, that God is displeased with you, for ye have lain by your sister, and on her ye have gotten a child that shall destroy you, and all the knights of your realm. What are ye, said Arthur, that tell me these tidings? I am Merlin, and I was he in the child's likeness. Ah, said King Arthur, ye are a marvellous man, but I marvel much of thy words that I must die in battle. Marvel not, said Merlin, for it is God's will your body to be punished for your foul deeds. But I may well be sorry, said Merlin, for I shall die a shameful death, to be put in the earth quick, and ye shall die a worshipful death. And as they talked this, came one with the king's horse. And so the king mounted on his horse, and Merlin on another, and so rode unto Carlion. And anon the king asked Ector and Ulfius how he was begotten. And they told him Uther Pendragon was his father, and Queen Igraine his mother. Then he said to Merlin, I will that my mother be sent for, that I may speak with her, and if she say so herself, then I will believe it. In all haste the queen was sent for, and she came and brought with her Morgan le Fay, her daughter, that was as fair a lady as any might be, and the king welcomed Igraine in the best manner. Chapter 21. How Ulfius impeached Queen Igraine, Arthur's mother, of treason, and how a knight came and desired to have the death of his master revenged. Right so came Ulfius, and said openly that the king and all might hear that were feasted that day, Ye are the falsest lady of the world, and the most traitress unto the king's person. Beware, said Arthur, what thou sayest. Thou speakest a great word. I am well aware, said Ulfius, what I speak, and here is my glove to prove it upon any man that will say the contrary, that this Queen Igraine is the causer of your great damage and of your great war. For an she would have uttered it in the life of King Uther Pendragon, of the birth of you, and how ye were begotten, ye had never had the mortal wars that ye have had. For the most part of your barons of your realm never knew whose son ye were, nor of whom ye were begotten, and she that bare you of her body should have made it known openly, in excusing her worship and yours, and in likewise to all the realm, wherefore I prove her false to God, and to you, and to all your realm. And who will say the contrary, I will prove it on his body. Then spake Igraine, and said, I am a woman, and may not fight, but rather than I should be dishonoured, there would be some good man to take my quarrel. More, she said, Merlin knoweth well, and ye, Sir Ulfius, how King Uther came to me in the castle of Tintagel in the likeness of my lord, that was dead 3 hours to 4, and thereby gat a child that night upon me. And after the 13th day King Uther wedded me, and by his commandment when the child was born it was delivered unto Merlin, and nourished by him. And so I saw the child never after, nor what his name, for I knew him never yet. And there Ulfius said to the queen, Merlin is more to blame than ye. Well, I wot, said the queen, I bear a child by my lord King Uther, but I wot not where he is become. Then Merlin took the king by the hand, saying, This is your mother. And therewith King Arthur took his mother, Queen Igraine, in his arms and kissed her, and either wept upon her. And then the king let make a feast that lasted 8 days. Then on a day there come in the court a squire on horseback, leading a knight before him wounded to the death, and told him how there was a knight in the forest had reared up a pavilion by a well, and hath slain my master, a good knight. His name was Miles. Whereof I beseech you that my master may be buried, and that some knight may revenge my master's death. Then the noise was great of that knight's death in the court, and every man said his advice. Then came Griflet, that was but a squire, and he was but young, of the age of the King Arthur. So he besought the king for all his service that he had done him, to give him the order of knighthood. Chapter 22. How Griflet was made knight, and jousted with a knight. Thou art full young, and tender of age, said Arthur, for to take so high an order on thee. Sir, said Griflet, I beseech you, make me a knight. Sir, said Merlin, it were great pity to lose Griflet, for he will be a passing good man when he is of age, abiding with you the term of his life. And if he adventure his body with yonder knight at the fountain, it is in great peril if he ever come again. For he is one of the best knights of the world, and the strongest man of arms. Well, said Arthur. So at the desire of Griflet the king made him knight. Now, said Arthur unto Sir Griflet, sith I have made you knight, thou must give me a gift. What ye will, said Griflet. Thou shalt promise me by the faith of thy body, that when thou hast jousted with the knight at the fountain, whether it fall ye be on foot or on horseback, that right so ye shall come unto me again, without making any more debate. I will promise you, said Griflet, as you desire. Then took Griflet his horse in great haste, and dressed his shield, and took a spear in his hand, and so he rode a great wallop till he came to the fountain, and thereby he saw a rich pavilion, and thereby, under a cloth, stood a fair horse well saddled and bridled, and on a tree a shield of divers colours, and a great spear. Then Griflet smote on the shield with the butt of his spear, that the shield fell down to the ground. With that the knight came out of the pavilion, and said, Fair knight, why smote ye down my shield? For I will joust with you, said Griflet. It is better ye do not, said the knight, for you are but young, and late made knight, and your might is nothing to mine. As for that, said Griflet, I will joust with you. That is me loth, said the knight, but sith I must needs, I will dress me thereto. Of whence be ye? said the knight. Sir, I am of Arthur's court. So the two knights ran together, that Griflet's spear all to shivered, and therewithal he smote Griflet through the shield and the left side, and brake the spear that the truncheon stuck in his body, that horse and knight fell down. Chapter 23. How 12 knights came from Rome, and asked truage for this land of Arthur, and how Arthur fought with a knight. When the knight saw him lie so on the ground, he alit, and was passing heavy, for he weened he had slain him. And then he unlaced his helm and gat him wind, and so with the truncheon he set him on his horse, and gat him wind, and so bytook him to God, and said he had a mighty heart, and if he might live, he would prove a passing good knight. And so Sir Griflet rode to the court, where great dole was made for him, but through good leeches he was healed and saved. Right so came into the court 12 knights, and were aged men, and they came from the Emperor of Rome, and they asked of Arthur truage for his realm, other else the Emperor would destroy him and his land. Well, said Arthur, ye are messengers, therefore ye may say what ye will, other else ye should die thereof. But this is mine answer, I owe the Emperor no truage, nor none will I hold him, but on a fair field I shall give him my truage that shall be with a sharp spear, or else with a sharp sword, and that shall not be long by my father's soul, Uther Pendragon. And therewith the messengers departed, passingly wroth, and King Arthur as wroth, for in evil time came they then, for the king was passingly wroth for the hurt of Sir Griflet. And so he commanded a privy man of his chamber, that, or it be day, his best horse and armour, with all that longeth unto his person, be without the city, or tomorrow day. Right so, or tomorrow day, he met with his man and his horse, and so mounted up, and dressed his shield, and took his spear, and bade his chamberlain tarry there, till he came again. And so Arthur rode a soft course till it was day, and then was he ware of the 3 churls chasing Merlin, and would have slain him. Then the king rode unto them, and bade them flee, churls. Then they were afeard when they saw a knight, and fled. O Merlin, said Arthur, here hadst thou been slain for all thy crafts, had I not been. Nay, said Merlin, not so, for I could save myself, and I would, and thou art more near thy death than I am, for thou goest to the death ward, and God be not thy friend. So as they went thus talking, they came to the fountain, and the rich pavilion there by it. Then King Arthur was where he sat, a knight armed in a chair. Sir knight, said Arthur, for what cause abidest thou here, that there may no knight ride this way, but if he joust with thee? Said the king. I rede thee, leave that custom, said Arthur. This custom, said the knight, have I used and will use maugre. Who saith nay, and who is grieved with my custom, let him amend it that will. I will amend it, said Arthur. I shall defend thee, said the knight. Anon he took his horse, and dressed his shield, and took a spear, and they met so hard either in other shields that all to shivered their spears. Therewith anon Arthur pulled out his sword. Nay, not so, said the knight. It is fairer, said the knight, that we twain run more together with sharp spears. I will well, said Arthur, an I had more spears. I have a no, said the knight. So there came a squire, and brought 2 good spears, and Arthur chose one, and he another. So they spurred their horses, and came together with all their mights, that either brake their spears to their hands. Then Arthur set hand on his sword. Nay, said the knight, ye shall do better. Ye are a passing good jouster as ever I met withal, and once, for the love of the high order of knighthood, let us joust once again. I assent me, said Arthur. Anon there were brought 2 great spears, and every knight gat a spear, and therewith they ran together that Arthur's spear all to shivered, but the other knight hit him so hard in the midst of the shield that horse and man fell to the earth, and therewith Arthur was eager, and pulled out his sword, and said, I will assay thee, Sir Knight, on foot, for I have lost the honour on horseback. I will be on horseback, said the knight. Then Arthur was wroth, and dressed his shield toward him with his sword drawn. When the knight saw that, he alit, for him thought no worship to have a knight at such avail, he to be on horseback, and he on foot. And so he alit, and dressed his shield unto Arthur, and there began a strong battle, with many great strokes, and so hewed with their swords that the cantles flew in the fields, and much blood they bled both, and all the place there as they fought was overbled with blood. And thus they fought long, and rested them. And then they went to the battle again, and so hurtled together like 2 rams that either fell to the earth. So at last they smote together that both their swords met even together, but the sword of the knight smote King Arthur's sword in 2 pieces, wherefore he was heavy. Then the knight said unto Arthur, Thou art in my daunture, whether me list to save thee or slay thee, but thou yield thee, as overcome and recreant, thou shalt die. As for death, said King Arthur, welcome be it when it cometh. But to yield me unto thee as recreant, I had lever die than to be so shamed. And therewithal the king leapt unto Pellinore, and took him by the middle, and threw him down, and raised off his helm. When the knight felt that, he was adread, for he was a passing big man of might. And anon he brought Arthur under him, and raised off his helm, and would have smitten off his head. Chapter 24. How Merlin saved Arthur's life, and threw an enchantment on King Pellinore, and made him to sleep. Therewithal came Merlin, and said, Knight, hold thy hand, for an thou slay that knight, thou puttest this realm in the greatest damage that ever was realm. For this knight is a man of more worship than thou wottest of. Why, who is he? Said the knight. It is King Arthur. Then would he have slain him, for dread of his wrath, and heaved up his sword, and therewith Merlin cast an enchantment to the knight, that he fell to the earth in a great sleep. Then Merlin took up King Arthur, and rode forth on the knight's horse. Alas, said Arthur, what hast thou done, Merlin? Hast thou slain this good knight by their crafts? There liveth not so worshipful a knight as he was. I had lever than the stint of my land a year that he were alive. Care ye not, said Merlin, for he is wholer than ye, for he is but on sleep, and will awake within 3 hours. I told you, said Merlin, what a knight he was, Here had ye been slain had I not been. Also there liveth not a bigger knight than he is one, and he shall hereafter do you right good service, and his name is Pellinore. And he shall have 2 sons that shall be passing good men, save one that they shall have no fellow of prowess and of good living, and their names shall be Perceval of Wales, and Lameraic of Wales. And he shall tell you the name of your own son, begotten of your sister, that shall be the destruction of all this realm. Chapter 25. How Arthur, by the mean of Merlin, gat Excalibur, his sword, of the Lady of the Lake. Right so the king and he departed, and went unto an hermit that was a good man, and a great leech. So the hermit searched all his wounds, and gave him good salves. So the king was there 3 days. And then were his wounds well amended, that he might ride and go, and so departed. And as they rode, Arthur said, I have no sword. No force, said Merlin. Hereby is a sword that shall be yours, an I may. So they rode till they came to a lake, the which was a fair water and broad. And in the midst of the lake Arthur was ware of an arm, clothed in white samite, that held a fair sword in that hand. Lo, said Merlin, yonder is that sword that I spake of. With that they saw a damsel going upon the lake. What damsel is that? Said Arthur. That is the Lady of the Lake, said Merlin, and within that lake is a rock, and therein is a place as fair as any on earth, and richly beseen. And this damsel will come to you anon, and then speak ye fair to her that she will give you that sword. Anon withal came the damsel unto Arthur, and saluted him, and he her again. Damsel, said Arthur, what sword is that yonder the arm holdeth above the water? I would it were mine, for I have no sword. Sir Arthur, king, said the damsel, that sword is mine, and if you will give me a gift when I ask it you, ye shall have it. By my faith, said Arthur, I will give you what gift ye will ask. Well, said the damsel, go ye into yonder barge, and row yourself to the sword, and take it and the scabbard with you, and I will ask my gift when I see my time. So Sir Arthur and Merlin alit, and tied their horses to 2 trees, and so they went into the ship, and when they came to the sword that the hand held, Sir Arthur took it up by the handles, and took it with him, and the arm and the hand went under the water. And so they came unto the land and rode forth, and then Sir Arthur saw a rich pavilion. What signifieth yonder pavilion? It is the knight's pavilion, said Merlin, that he fought with last Sir Pellinore, but he is out, he is not there. He hath ado with a knight of yours that hight Aglaim, and they have foughten together, but at the last Aglaim fled, and else he had been dead, and he hath chased him even to Carlion, and we shall meet with him anon in the highway. That is well said, said Arthur. Now have I a sword, now will I wage battle with him, and be avenged on him. Sir, you shall not so, said Merlin, for the knight is weary of fighting and chasing. so that ye shall have no worship to have ado with him. Also he will not be lightly matched of one night living, and therefore it is my counsel, let him pass, for he shall do you good service in short time, and his sons after his days. Also ye shall see that day in short space, ye shall be right glad to give him your sister to wed. When I see him, I shall do as you advise me, said Arthur. Then Sir Arthur looked on the sword, and liked it passing well. Whether liketh you better, said Merlin, the sword or the scabbard? Me liketh better the sword, said Arthur. Ye are more unwise, said Merlin, for the scabbard is worth 10 of the swords, for whiles ye have the scabbard upon you, you shall never lose no blood, be ye never so sore wounded. Therefore keep well that scabbard always with you. So they rode unto Carlion, and by the way they met with Sir Pellinore, but Merlin had done such a craft that Pellinore saw not Arthur, and he passed by without any words. I marvel, said Arthur, that the knight would not speak. Sir, said Merlin, he saw you not, for an he had seen you, he had not lightly departed. So they came unto Carlion, whereof his knights were passing glad. And when they heard of his adventures, they marvelled that he would jeopard his person so alone. But all men of worship said it was merry to be under such a chieftain that would put his person in adventure, as other poor knights did. And that, my friends, is where we will leave it for today. Exciting stuff to see the moment at which Arthur takes the sword Excalibur. I think I mentioned in an earlier part that they also called the sword that was pulled from the stone Excalibur. Either I was confused about that, or it's a mistake in the printing. I'm not sure. But now, at least, we know that the king has his sword, and the scabbard that seems mighty useful too. We'll see what adventures this mighty chieftain gets up to next time on Soft Stories. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading of Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. We'll see each other again soon, but until next we meet, I must leave you. I wish you all the best, and goodbye.